At the end of 2025, I had the opportunity to check out two pressure washers from AVA of Norway, their Go P45 as well as the AVA Easy P50. And overall, I was pretty darn impressed with the units. I was more impressed though by the actual company. They're trying to get away from the throwaway culture of which you see from big box store pressure washers. Long gone are the days of giving you accessories that essentially you just throw in the garbage immediately when you unbox those units. They're trying to give you stuff that you want to actually use, and arguably I would say you don't really need to upgrade whatsoever. They're also trying to get rid of the throwaway culture of pressure washers to where they actually give you an unreal warranty. 10 years on these units compared to typically a year, and a lot of those units you use for a little while. If something goes wrong internally, you pitch them in the garbage and have to start from scratch. So today we're going to be reviewing the new AVA Go Plus P45, a upgraded unit from the original AVA Go P45 over here, of which they have done some amazing upgrades, not all perfect. We'll talk about that here in the review, and I want to see where this actually sits in terms of the entry-level pressure washer market. Welcome back to the channel. Let's jump into it. Well guys, thank you all for being here. As usual, just love making these pressure washer videos for you guys. Love nerding out on this stuff, seeing what companies are doing to upgrade their pressure washers. Again, there's a lot of really awesome improvements over here. Not all perfect, but can't wait to dive into it. So a couple of quick notes before we get into the video here. Number one, AVA of Norway did supply me with these completely free of charge to make a review with. If you know anything about this channel, that doesn't mean I'm going to hold back. If there's still improvements needed with this, I'm going to tell you. At the end of the day, I want to make sure this is a good value for you guys if I'm actually going to recommend it. Number two here, this will be a longer style video. So I want to very much spend some time walking through this, making sure we understand everything that has changed. We're going to, of course, compare the noise performance on this because they actually claim it's quieter than the original version. We'll go through all of our flow testing, including PSI, GPM, current draw, and at the end of the day, see if these are worth your money or really not. So I'll make sure I'll chapterize this out for you guys, but let's dive into the review. So lots to dive into today, but I think the first most important thing is diving into what's actually changed with the Plus version of the AVA Go P45. Number one, we do have a price increase, which I do think is a shame. This over here, the original version retailed at $255. We do have a price increase to $270 over here. Now, the one thing I think is a negative about this, number one, it is already more expensive than the Greenworks, the Ryobis, the big box store pressure washers out there. Now, I would argue that these are a better value because they actually come with accessories you actually want to use and don't really need to upgrade. So by the time you upgrade a Greenworks or Ryobi, you're essentially at this price point. But where I think this is a negative is my assumption is they're kind of probably blaming this on all of the tariffs and the political climate right now, where you're also seeing companies like Active actually drive the price down on things like the 2.0, maybe a little bit more expensive on their new accessory bundle coming with higher quality accessories, but that is something to take into consideration here. Now, when it comes to actual changes here, there is quite a bit different. Number one, and I think the biggest thing here is they have gone to 3/8 quick disconnects over here. Previously, they had a European style proprietary quick disconnect, of which kind of made things pretty annoying. If you ever wanted to upgrade the hose, maybe you wanted something longer, if you wanted a different pressure washer gun, you would actually have to get an adapter like this. And I think for a lot of people, that's quite a big negative. So these have really been optimized more for the US market, although not perfectly, which we'll talk about here in a second. The number two thing here is you can see the overall design, the overall form factor of this, very different from the Plus version to the non-Plus original version over here. One of the things I appreciated on this, although not done very well in my impression, was you did have a space to actually put everything. Number one, you can see you had a little holster for your gun here. You had your pressure washer tips that go here, your turbo nozzle, even your lance actually fit right up here, as well as your hose was supposed to be able to go into here. Now, I actually grabbed this thing and kind of roll this up. This is a 40-foot hose. One of my pieces of feedback was, hey guys, you need to make this larger so you don't have to perfectly fold this up every single time, because we all know what a big pain in the butt that is to actually fit in here. The other thing, they actually had this cut out here to really try to fit your 35-foot cable to actually plug your pressure washer in into that area so you could hold it. that didn't really work that great. That was like fitting a square plug into a round hole. Not very well optimized there. So what they have done instead is kind of ditched all of that. You can see our pressure washer tips sit up here now. You also have this area where your lance goes, but unfortunately our gun doesn't really have anywhere to go, which I do think is a bit of a shame, nor do we actually have an area to put our hose, our cable for this. So very different form factor. I personally prefer though that this is overall smaller, because really these units, in my impression, are going to be for those people who are going to set them up every single time, take them down, put them away in a cabinet. But they have also thought about that, which is really cool. This unit over here, not very well optimized to actually wall mount. Couple things here. Number one, no rubberized feet on this. So this could easily fall off the wall unless you mount it. Didn't have great mounting points for that. Over here, they have actually put rubberized feet. You can see I can literally shake the entire table, and you actually have mounting positions for that. The other issue with this unit was it wasn't very well optimized to actually wall mount. What you can see back here is actually our pressure washer outlet. Our inlet went in the front, so of course this is pretty hard to actually mount onto the wall. Now what you can see they did over here is they've actually moved the outlet to the side, and keeping in with that 3/8 quick disconnect here, we also still retain swivel, which I absolutely love. That was one of the cool things with their European style quick disconnect, came in here, but you also still had swivel on both the pressure washer side and the actual gun side. I was a fan of that. But the other thing I wasn't a fan of is this whole plasticky situation, which brings me to another big point here. I was a little bit disappointed with the overall quality of the machine, not the accessories. I actually felt the accessories were quite good. Although not perfect, I really felt that the fit and finish of some stuff like this that was very cheap, very plasticky, very finicky was not that great. They have redesigned this to be quite a bit higher quality. Number one thing you can actually see here, guys, and this was, again, one of my negatives, they had this kind of textured, shinier plastic on here. And both the Go and the Easy that I unboxed straight out of the unit had a bunch of scuffs and marks all over it. And naturally, over time, as you use that, the machine's not going to look that great. Again, I think for the price point they're asking, needs to be a bit higher quality. And they have fixed essentially all of that over here. So that is a big thumbs up for AVA actually listening to feedback. And again, you're going to see they're actually listening to a lot of feedback here, although not all of it from us, but really, really impressive. So one of the other things, I know it seems like there's a lot, it's all these little details that make up to a great pressure washer. And again, especially if you're asking for a higher price point, these need to get dialed in. One of my biggest issues was this little garden hose thread adapter. So number one, it came and you had to actually twist this on, and you're twisting it right on the plastic. Once this was on here, not a large deal, except for the fact of the shoulders in the actual thread here. You could only get about 1 or 2 twists on it, which meant this would always leak. They have fixed that over here. All metal construction, plenty of threads on here to easily make sure you're not going to get any leaks. Absolutely love this. The only drawback to this, and I understand they have to price these units and give them different accessories as well to, get people to purchase the higher end one, the Easy version of this. On the Easy version, they have given you a male quick disconnect that is ready to go, just like your 3/8 here. And they also give you a 3/4 inch garden hose thread quick disconnect you put on your hose, and you just quick disconnect it there. So that is one thing. You will have to purchase a quick disconnect here, which I always recommend doing. Get it in stainless steel, and it's going to make setup really, really easy. So really, really like some of the upgrades here. Although not perfect, we are really moving in the right direction. Speaking about the accessories here, these actually come with a expandable lance, and the lance was one that I was like, I pretty much like all the accessories other than the quick disconnects, but this was a little awkward for me. So you can see they have this big green button on here, and for me this is a little tricky to do, but essentially you press that and you actually pull this out. I was hoping they would just twist style this like this actually connects to your actual pressure washer gun here, which I'll show you in a second. This is all plastic inside of here, and it is just a little finicky to actually use, and they have upgraded that, which I absolutely love. So you can see this is your actual expandable lance here. Twist it, pull it, boom, done. This is all metal now. What a phenomenal job. Listening to feedback, absolutely love that. So everything here, guys, other than your water inlet is quick disconnect, which I just think is the best thing ever. So you can do that. You can twist this bad boy on, and then from this side, you can just plug your pressure washer tips straight into there. If you don't want this thing on here and you want your stubby nose adapter, you just twist this off, boom. It's really nice and convenient to actually switch. Now, the cool thing is I've actually been using these units at home. So this is actually my dad's unit, the Go. I took the Easy for my house because I'm not really washing cars there. It's more meant for, you know, washing down patios and things and siding. I absolutely love using it, and I love hooking up a foam cannon quickly to this, swapping over to this, having that lance so I can rinse down the house, things like that. That has been really, really impressive. The last little change here I want to mention as well comes to the actual pressure washer tips. Now, one thing I love that they did over here on the original one was not give you a 0 degree, and they actually, in fact, gave you a 60 degree, which was actually pretty darn awesome to see. Really nice for rinsing down cars as well. So what they have done, like many manufacturers are doing, is actually put a rubberized tip on this. Now, pros and cons to this, I do think this is theoretically safer for working around a car, but not perfect. The reason being is these are not push to connect, quick disconnect. So you can see I don't have it fully locked in there. If this is pressurized, I pull this, this becomes a projectile at the car. The issue with having these rubberized tips is naturally they have a little bit more weight on the nose of them, which means as a projectile, this spins and you literally have a 50-50% chance of you hitting the rubber tip or the metal at the back. Now, is it better than these? Okay, arguably, but just something to note there. So overall, I think they made some great improvements. There is still one thing I would really like to see them improve. Number one, I think their foam cannon is actually pretty darn awesome. It's overall very robust. Really like the very oversized large cups on here. The only issue is they measure this out in deciliters and centiliters. I don't really use that ever. I use milliliters and liters. I understand there's conversions there. If you're gonna make this for the US market, why not just make this in ounces? Most people in America think of freedom units, so if this is aimed at the US market, you need to do that. Also, I personally still think their actual dip tube there is far too long, so I'd highly recommend probably cutting it, I don't know, 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, maybe at the bottom here, so it's a little easier to get on. I would still like to see a quick disconnect style on this, but I think the foam cannon it comes with far better than any of the other big box store stuff. So now that we understand what's actually changed here, other than noise performance, which they claim this is now quite a bit quieter than this over here, I want to get into the performance testing. So I'm going to hook up both of these. I want to hear how they sound side by side, see if they've actually made meaningful improvements. We'll run this through our PSI testing, flow testing, as well as current draw, and at the end of the day, give you an overall value of how this actually stacks up. Next, I want to get into the noise performance. Again, they are claiming the new version is quieter here, hopefully a little bit better tone. These are both universal motors. They're naturally going to be a little bit louder. So let's turn on the AVA Go. Definitely get that higher pitch shrill from a universal motor. How about the Plus? Wow, way different tone. A lot lower, a lot less shrill on it. Now, I didn't have two stubby adapters on here, so we're going to use them on the lance. And that's kind of okay. Actually, I want to hear how the actual units sound, not the actual nozzle tips. I overall am more concerned about how the motor sounds. So let's start over here with the AVA Go. So you definitely do get a lot more shrill out of this machine. And right at the end there, when that total stop start comes on, you get this little squeak. It's not as bad as like the Greenworks that I just tested, but definitely notable. Let's try the Plus version. Oh my gosh, what a difference. Wow. That is a substantial difference. Let's go side by side. Pretty impressive, honestly. They definitely made a quite big difference there. So of course, standing next to these, they're going to be quite loud. You can see the microphones on my chest. I'm going to head across the shop and we'll be about 25 feet or so away from these. And I want to hear how that noise carries from a distance. Typically what you'd be if you're actually washing the vehicle. So let's hear the noise performance starting with the original Go. Oh, wow. Wow, what an upgrade. So what I can tell you there is this really takes away a lot of the shrill of that universal motor. It's got a much deeper tone to it, and it's also quite a bit quieter. That is actually, that's a substantial difference. This one, man, you really hear that carry. I feel like I got to talk a little elevated here. Now you also do hear quite a bit of the pressure washer tip. That, I mean, you could have a conversation over this. Absolutely game changing there. Honestly, I didn't expect it to be that big of a difference. I was like, okay, you know, some companies claim it's going to be quieter. That is a big difference. Can I also give a shout out to AVA as well for producing actually good hoses for an entry-level pressure washer? These are about 1,000 times better than what comes in your traditional big box pressure washer hose. These are actually awesome. Really no memory to them. The swivel on them. Actually, I want to test the swivel compared to the European and the new 3/8. Now, to be totally honest with you, the swivel on this is okay. It's really not great. It's better than not having it at all. This is the original European style. It definitely helps without getting the hose completely tangled, but definitely not as smooth as some other legit pressure washer guns out there. But how about this? This is the new 3/8. Oh, actually, wow, quite a bit better. So again, I think we're seeing really great improvements here, but man, what a nice upgrade. Sound performance really different. So next and last here, I want to get into performance testing the new unit and just see what it compares to some other units out there. I'll give you some of the data, all of that fun stuff. I'm not going to bore you with doing the actual GPM testing. I'll probably just put up a chart, do a voiceover on it so you guys don't have to watch all of that. So starting off with the stock tips that come with these, the 60° and 40° really optimized for washing cars here. They're stamped as a 1.13. These are actually smaller than a 3.5 orifice, but these achieve 1200 psi, pull 13.1 amps, and achieve 1.66 GPM. Honestly, pretty impressive, but I'd like to see that orifice open a little bit, drop the PSI, get the flow up. I'll show you that here in a minute. The stock 25 and 15° are stamped as a 1.08, but this achieves 1350 PSI, pulling 14 amps and giving us 1.56 GPM. Now, of course, I also wanted to test the AVA Go Plus here to see if we could get a little bit more performance by manipulating the orifice sizing here, and we absolutely did. Personally, I think a 4.0 orifice is kind of perfectly optimized for this, achieving 1025 PSI, pulling only 11.9 amps, but achieving 1.76 GPM. Very respectable numbers here. If we open up that orifice to a 4.5, that achieves 925 PSI, 11.1 amps at 1.84 GPM. Now, I'm sure some of you might want to use this. I personally think anything under 1,000 on a lower flow machine, I'm talking 2 gallons per minute or less. I personally think 1,000 should be your bare minimum. You can definitely get away with it on a 2.3, 2.5, a 3.0 gallons per minute machine, but definitely not here. Nor do I really think you should close it down anymore to a 3.5 because that bumps up the PSI to 1150, achieving 12.8 amps and only pulling 1.67 GPM. Across the board, very impressive results here, but again, personally think that 4.0 orifice perfectly optimized. Now, I actually tested the stock foam cannon here, and I personally think it is flippin' awesome. The foam performance is amazing on it, and notably, this is actually a smaller orifice than a 1.25, but not quite as small as a 1.1 here. I would personally stick with the stock foam cannon. This achieves 1350 PSI, 14.2 amps, and produces amazing snow foam. Now, something like an Armor Detail Supply drift foam cannon with a 1.25 millimeter orifice in it drops the PSI 100 to 1250, does keep the amps a little bit more in check at 13.75, but you're really not gaining anything other than maybe a slightly higher quality foam cannon here with some quick disconnects, extra bottles, stuff like that. So maybe you'd want to go to that, but I personally still think the foam cannon that comes with this is really perfectly optimized in terms of orifice sizing. Now, if we compare the AVA Go Plus P45 over here to the Active 2.0 Ryobi and Greenworks, you'll see this sits somewhere between the Active 2.0 and between the Ryobi 1.8 and Greenworks 1.8. So the Active 2.0 with a 4.0 orifice achieves 975 psi, pulling 12.33 amps, giving us 1.88 GPM. So definitely a little bit higher than the AVA here, but still very respectable for both. Now, a Ryobi and a Greenworks, both with the 3.5 orifice, the Ryobi is going to achieve 1000 psi, 12.05 amps at 1.69 GPM. The Greenworks, on the other hand, 25 psi more, definitely quite a bit more current. That was something I noticed on that machine, but achieving the same exact GPM as the Ryobi, giving us a 1.69 GPM. So still very respectable across the board. I'm glad to see that these are very, very similar, that the AVA here being a little bit more premium. Yes, 0.7 here doesn't sound like a lot. It's really not, but it is a notable difference here, I will say. The other interesting thing, given that we have noise performance differences between the Go and the Go Plus here, I kind of expected to see some differences in terms of performance. They were actually identical. No difference between them. So really impressive results here. But let me give you guys my final thoughts and final verdict on whether you should pick up the AVA Go Plus P45. Right, well, let's finish off this video with some final thoughts. And I think at the end of the day, I'm even more impressed with the AVA line of products with their new Plus version of the Go here. Now, I didn't try out the Easy. I told them I didn't really need one. Could kind of figure out what's going on here. So again, I really appreciate AVA for sending these out. But I gotta say, at the end of the day, man, what an awesome little machine these things are. And again, starting over here, I was very impressed with this unit. Just some of those minor tweaks that I thought could be improved. I feel like they fixed a lot of that over here. And I gotta say, the performance specs on this, the noise performance, everything in total, this seems like a pretty awesome pressure washer to me. Now, I think at the end of the day, for a lot of people, price shopping pressure washers, it's always hard, again, going back to the Ryobis, the Greenworks, to look at those and want to spend quite a bit more to get the AVA pressure washer. I personally still think this is an awesome value. Would I take a Ryobi with like fully upgraded accessories over this? Maybe, I don't know. I really, really like the ethos of this company and the want to improve things. And I think that should be very much celebrated. And again, you also have a crazy warranty here. So if I'm an enthusiast at home, I may end up probably choosing the AVA over Ryobi or Greenworks. So again, it's just really hard to, you're a little bit on one hand comparing apples to oranges, but they are still apples to apples at the end of the day. And man, I gotta say, what a great little unit here. And again, this is a testament to show what actually happens when you actually take feedback as helping the company out. A lot of companies that I work with or, you know, receive products from, or even just review products after I purchase them, they really take it as I'm just being mean, I'm being far too critical. And at the end of the day, if you actually listen to feedback and want to get better, this is the kind of stuff that happens. An overall better user experience, the customer gets a better product, the company sells more product, and everybody's happier. And I love to see companies trying to push the envelope and really transform the industry. And I think AVA is doing a very, very good job at that. So at the end of the day, if you are interested in one of these, I will leave the link into the description below for you to pick one up. I still think they're awesome units. My dad absolutely loves this. In fact, he was going to wash his deck today, and I stole this thing from him to make this comparison. So big shout out to my dad. And the one that I have that I use at home, I absolutely love. So at the end of the day, I'm really pleasantly surprised with some great upgrades here, overall good value of the products, and great job to AVA. So thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in another one soon. Bye-bye.